The parched air of the desert planet Coram. 7 shimmered under a twin sun. Dr. Felix Rayner, a seasoned human physician with the United Intergalactic Medical Corps, had been assigned to a remote outpost to provide medical care to the local alien inhabitants. The people of Coram 7, known as the Kethra, were a tall, wiry species with translucent skin that glowed faintly in the dark. Their physiology was unique, adapted to the extreme heat and the scarcity of water that plagued their world. Felix had treated them before. Simple ailments, infections, and occasional trauma from the wild, but nothing that had tested his skills like this. On this particular day, a small craft had crash-landed not far from the medical facility. His team received the distress signal, but by the time they arrived at the site, the only survivor was a Kethra woman, delirious with thirst and barely conscious. She was lying half-buried in the sand, a thin, fragile figure that seemed to melt into the harsh landscape. Felix immediately ordered his team to transport her back to the medical center. Her pulse was weak, and her skin was cracked from dehydration. There was nothing he could do except stabilize her until they could figure out what had happened. Part 2, The Rescue. The woman's eyes fluttered open as Felix worked to hydrate her, inserting in 4-line and giving her fluids, though he knew it would take much more than that to save her. Her lips parted slightly, and she mumbled in a language Felix didn't understand. Her hands twitched, almost like she was trying to reach out for something or someone. The words were incomprehensible, but the desperation in her tone was unmistakable. "She's trying to speak," Felix said to his assistant, a Kethra-speaking technician named Zorath. "Can you understand her?" Zorath leaned in and listened carefully. He spoke softly to the woman, trying to calm her, but her voice grew louder, more insistent. After a moment, Zorath turned to Felix, his expression concerned. "She says she was the sole survivor of a scouting mission. Their ship malfunctioned and they crashed. She must have been exposed to the elements for days." Felix nodded grimly, turning back to his patient. "How long can she survive without water?" Zorath paused, his antennae twitching as he thought. "Kethra can go for days without water, but the extreme heat here is much harder on them than on us. She's lucky we found her when we did. The dehydration is severe." Felix didn't need Zorath's confirmation. He could see it in the woman's eyes, the confusion and the pain. He needed to do something more, something to truly bring her back from the brink. But first he needed to know her name. Part 3, Her Name, Her Story. The woman's condition improved over the next few days, though she still remained weak. Felix and Zorath worked tirelessly, monitoring her hydration and making sure the nutrients were replenishing in her bloodstream. When she finally regained enough strength to speak coherently, Felix was there. "Thank you for saving me," the woman said in a soft voice, her words alien but unmistakable. She struggled to sit up, looking around at the sterile medical room as if seeing it for the first time. Felix smiled warmly. "You're welcome. You were in bad shape when we found you. How are you feeling now?" The woman's gaze softened as she blinked in confusion, her thin brows furrowing as though trying to recall something important. "I am Karesh," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am from a far place, a place where water flows freely, not like here." Felix nodded, sensing the sadness in her words. "You're from off-world, then? A colony, perhaps?" Karesh shook her head weakly. "No, not a colony. I was with my team, sent to gather resources. We did not make it back." Her hand reached up, clutching her throat, the motion almost instinctual. "But you gave me water. Your last." Felix's eyes widened, confused. "My last." Karesh's hand trembled, but she placed it on her chest. I could feel your thirst, your desperation. When I drank your offering, it wasn't just life that flowed through me. It was your soul. Felix looked at her in disbelief. My soul? She nodded slowly. Yes, you gave me your last drink, not knowing you were giving me more than just sustenance. I felt your spirit, your compassion, your willingness to sacrifice. I knew in that moment that I owed you my life. Felix's mind raced. He had given her his last bottle of water, a precious resource in the desert planet, but he didn't think it had been anything special. Karesh's words were almost too much to comprehend, but he couldn't ignore the sincerity in her eyes. Something about her felt different, like she wasn't simply grateful for water, but for the connection they had shared in that act. Part 4: A New Bond. As the days passed, Karesh's recovery continued, though Felix could sense something was changing in her. She seemed stronger, more aware of her surroundings. The bond between them grew. She would often look at him with a deep, silent gratitude that left Felix both honored and unsettled. They communicated less through words and more through gestures, and there was an understanding between them that transcended language. One evening, after Felix had finished his rounds, he found Karesh standing outside the medical complex, looking up at the twin suns setting over the horizon. The orange light bathed the land in a warm, soft glow. She didn't look back when he approached, but her posture softened as if she had been waiting for him. You seem more at peace now, Felix said softly, joining her. How do you feel? Karesh looked at him, her translucent skin glowing in the setting sun. I feel whole. The thirst I had was not just for water, Felix. It was for something more. For connection. For understanding. Felix swallowed hard, realizing what she meant. You're saying that, what we shared, my last drink, it meant something more to you than just survival? Karesh nodded, her gaze fixed on him. Yes, you gave me your last drink, and in doing so you gave me hope. You saved more than my life, Felix. You saved my spirit. Felix was speechless. In all his years as a doctor, he had never encountered such an intimate connection. He had saved many lives, but none of them had ever felt like this. None had ever made him feel like he had truly given something of himself in return. Part 5: The Farewell. The days turned into weeks, and Karesh's strength returned. She was soon able to walk and speak fluently again. Her gratitude never wavered, and though Felix felt a growing attachment to her, he knew their time together would be limited. She had come from another world, and her mission was far from over. One morning, she stood in front of him, a rare, solemn expression on her face. Felix, I must leave. I have to return to my people. There are things I must do. Felix's heart sank. He had known this moment would come, but it didn't make it any easier. I understand, he said, his voice thick. I'm just glad I could help. Karesh placed her hand over his. You did more than help. You saved me. You gave me your last drink and you gave me hope. For that, I will always be grateful. Felix nodded, his throat tight. He had never felt more connected to another being, even if their paths would never cross again. As Karesh turned to leave, she paused. Perhaps one day, when the stars align, we will meet again. Until then, remember this. Kindness transcends all things, even time and distance.